Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream. Thank you so much for everyone who's been waiting for me, and welcome to another live stream. Let's give ourselves a minute to make sure everything's up and running. And here we are. Again, welcome everyone to another live stream. Everyone who's here, Molly, Koopa Koop, Imdad, Phoenix, and everyone else, Abdul Barakat, Fatima, John Doe, and everyone else joining us. Thank you so much for waiting, and welcome to another live stream. I hope you're all doing well. I want to talk to you about the Rafah crossing. Everything is about Rafah now, and I intended to talk to you about the Rafah crossing and what is prepared for Rafah, particularly what's happening in Rafah, what obviously Israel is delusional about in Rafah, and what the Hamas response is. But before I get into that, I wanted to tell you about the military updates. Israel is in its invasion of Rafah is only planning to achieve an image of victory that it will never achieve. Israel failed to achieve every single objective that it put for itself during this genocide. The elimination of Hamas, making Gaza not pose a threat again, returning the Israeli prisoners, and obviously the main objective, which is committing an ethnic cleansing campaign. Yeah, they weren't saying outright, hey, we want to expel every single Palestinian, but they hinted, and we had multiple statements from them. They constantly come up with these new ideas in Gaza, failure after failure. They're unable to defeat the Palestinian resistance. They're unable to even harm them to a level where they can stop their attacks on Israel and resist the Israeli forces in Gaza. The Palestinian resistance is active in every single part of Gaza. All of the talk of the dismantling of the Hamas brigades and the resistance brigades is completely fabricated, propaganda, and is there for primarily Israeli public opinion, and is a message to the people that, look, we're achieving something, where they're achieving nothing. Otherwise, how could anyone explain the fact that these people only punish the civilian population? What have you all seen since Israel invaded Rafah? Apart from the bodies of children, apart from people running away, apart from tanks bombing tents that refugees use to live in because Israel demolished their houses, what do you see apart from an Israeli tank passing next to the Rafah crossing? What do you see apart from an Israeli tank going over a sign that says, I love Gaza? What was in that sign? I love Gaza. Was there a Hamas ant on it? Was there a Hamas ant holding a shoulder grenade throw or something? Well, what was it exactly? Yasin 105? I mean, as far as I know, Hamas, they have, Yasin 105, but only human beings can hold it. I'm not sure if that ant on that I Love Gaza logo had Yasin 105, or they were preparing to launch missiles. That's what you have. You don't have any significant accomplishment. And the Palestinian resistance, they're attacking Israel very heavily. So we've had multiple attacks, firstly, on the forces remaining in the Netzarim line. So it's not like they diverted the attention from where the other Israeli forces are. The Palestinian resistance targeting Netzarim. The Palestinian resistance is targeting the Israeli military base next to Karm Abu Salim or Kerem Shalom. The Palestinian resistance is bombing the headquarters of the Gaza division surrounding Gaza. The Palestinian resistance is targeting Merkavas with Yassin 105. It's still active. And it will remain active. It's not going to stop. I published a video earlier on about the reports that the US halted a shipment of 3,500 US-made missiles. 1 ton and a quarter ton, half and half, almost. And Israel was fuming. They were upset, they were frustrated about the fact that the US published this. They were upset about the fact that the US conducted this delay. They're not happy. And now they're still talking, as if they can, about the day after Hamas. As if Hamas is not there. Hamas is still everywhere in Gaza. But they're still talking. What is the talk about now? The talk is about the Rafah crossing and who's going to control it. As if because their tanks passed by the Rafah crossing to take some pictures and post them to the genocidal people in Israel and show them, look, here we have an image of victory. We're in Rafah. We're in Rafah. We're destroying tents. We're destroying the I Love Gaza logo. Wow. We're killing babies. So the sacrifice is being handed. Sacrifice is being handed. But now, all of a sudden, the talks re-emerge again about handing the Rafah crossing to who? To who? To the Palestinian Authority led by the President Mahmoud Abbas. Again. You had a secret group belonging, not supposedly secret because they were caught, belonging to the head of the intelligence of the Palestinian Authority, Majid Faraj, that I spoke to you about when it happened, disguised as the Egyptian Red Crescent, going into Gaza. It was just over a month ago. Why? Because Israel failed with every single attempt to strip Hamas from the authority in Gaza, to instill division in Gaza, to affect the social cohesion in Gaza. They tried with certain groups. One of them, by the way, is a group called Jaysh al-Islam, the Army of Islam. Same group that kidnapped a British journalist, a BBC journalist, that was released by Hamas just over 15 years ago. Israel collaborated with them. Israel tried to collaborate with some of the tribes in Gaza to hand them the authority and undermine the ruling of Hamas. That failed. They went out with a joint statement saying, we will not deal with the occupation, and we consider dealing with the occupation treason, and we respect the authority in Gaza that was elected by the people. They assassinated many people who still managed to pass aid, regardless of all of their attempts. People who deal aid, to children. People are getting killed in Gaza trying to get aid. We just had more images today of people killed, martyred really, because some of these airdrop aid packages fall down on them because they're starving. Capitalizing and using this human suffering, sadistically enjoying it, sadistically enjoying the scenes of the people fleeing, living in tents, sadistically enjoying the images of those who are killed. That's what Israel is about. This is how it was established. Israel was established on ethnic cleansing and mass genocide in 1948. And now, although everything failed with regards to their attempts to hand this authority to anyone else, it failed in the areas that you supposedly had under control, North Gaza. It failed with everything. What makes you think it's going to work with Rafah? But still they have these delusions. So I wanted to share this report with you. And then I'll obviously open up the space for you if you have any questions. There was an article in the Israeli newspaper, Ma'ariv. Again, selling delusions to the people. What did it say? The day after is here. Sinwar's bitter enemy is expected to take control of Rafah. The IDF's maneuver in Rafah has only just begun, but discussions about the day after are already underway. On Wednesday, 2 conflicting reports were published about who will manage the Rafah crossing once the operation ends. What is certain is that Yahya Sinwar probably won't like both options. According to Sky News Arabia, a private American company will take over the management of the Rafah crossing until the PA receives the mission from the Palestinian side. Washington informed the Palestinian Authority that Rafah crossing would be closed. In response, Palestinian factions said, "We will deal with the provisions of any plan to take over Rafah crossing as we deal with the occupation." That's primarily Hamas who said that, by the way. Any force coming here without the approval of the resistance will be treated the same way that the child murdering forces are treated with. The sources also said that they will not accept any form of guardianship of the Rafah crossing from any party. At the same time, informed sources revealed in an interview to the Lebanese newspaper Al-Akhbar that after the failure of several previous attempts, the head of the General Intelligence Service in the Palestinian Authority, Majid Faraj, is once again trying to restore the initiative to bring his agency members into the Gaza Strip through the Rafah crossing and its management and operation in preparation for what is planned to be the day after the war at the level of the civil administration of the Gaza Strip. So it starts off with that, leading to more civil control, which is what Israel wants and what Israel is hoping for. 2 months ago, this is what I spoke to you about earlier in this video, Faraj's move failed when the entry of PA activists, undercover rats, into the Gaza Strip ended with their elimination by Hamas following a new renewal of their contacts with Israel. The report was back then that Hamas imprisoned them, not eliminated them. I'm not sure if they eliminated them. They said, we imprisoned them, and then they found the head of this group. At the time, Egypt claimed to have no knowledge about this. They said, we didn't know. You didn't know. I mean, it's a little bit hard to believe that Palestinian forces belonging to the Palestinian Authority intelligence pretending to be the Red Crescent and entering the Rafah crossing without the Egyptians knowing. However, Israel still believes that this delusion is possible. that Hamas and the Palestinian resistance, backed by the Palestinian people, they did not allow any of these attempts previously. What makes you think that you're going to succeed again? But all of this is to try and psychologically manipulate people and create this image of victory. Again, this image of victory initially started off with Al-Shifa Hospital, the base, the hub, that they later committed a barbaric massacre in, that was underplayed, again, underreported by international mainstream media. I wonder why. And now they're finding more mass graves. According to the Palestinian Authority in Gaza, 7 new mass graves have been found in Gaza. 7 new mass graves. One of them is another one next to Al-Shifa Hospital with 49 bodies. 49 bodies. Some of these bodies are handcuffed. Execution. And they buried them very deep, so they cannot be found. Many of them with organs missing. And this is what I wanted to share with you. Let me open the space up for you, see if you have any questions. Firstly, Abdul Barakat, thank you for becoming a supporter. And all of the members, and obviously everyone else, all of my moderators and subscribers. Christina Haynes, how the Palestinians are coping is beyond my understanding. It is making me ill watching Israel's inhumanity. People of the world, please stand up against Israel. Boycott, pressure Palestinians. Pressure politicians, excuse me, pressure Palestinians. They don't need more pressure. Yeah, I mean, it's beyond many people's understanding. What I can say is God's mercy, Allah's mercy, encompasses everything and is beyond our comprehension. And that's the main thing. And then people's resilience and faith and adaptability, and definitely strength that is beyond comprehension. Where you feel like you're about to break, these people rise up. It's beyond comprehension. But what's happening now will be taught in history in the future. But yes, people need to continue to stand up, even if we have a ceasefire, boycott, and pressure politicians. And by the way, I will hopefully have something coming for you about the pressure politicians side of things, particularly in the United States. There's more means to put pressure on politicians now. Many people are having activities and things online that are proving to be very, very effective. Imdad, thank you for your comment, by the way. Okay, Christina's also asking, will the port that the Americans are building be used or misused to deport Palestinians from Gaza? What will the response of the resistance be to a deportation? You know, this pier and all moves by the US and Israel's allies, ambiguous, suspicious, don't trust anything they do. However, the statements that we got from Hamas particularly, it's as if there's some sort of understanding between them and the US. Like one of their senior figures in the political bureau said that when he was asked about the pier, he said that the US will be managing this pier and Israel will have no link to it. Okay, signaling some sort of approval or that we don't have. And it will be for humanitarian purposes only. This is what he said. And I mentioned that. That was about a week ago. Is that the case? I really don't know. I'm not sure. I don't trust anything that the US administration does. But clearly, these people, it's not like they see eye to eye with everything with Israel. Okay. They're more criminal than Israel, absolutely, as an administration. But that doesn't mean they see eye to eye. And that doesn't mean they can have something with Gaza. Don't forget that Hamas's leadership based in Qatar is by American approval too. The US is interested in that. And as a matter of fact, they're talking with them. So there could be some sort of an understanding. But yeah, it could be used for that. But Palestinian resistance is still there. As a matter of fact, they conducted, after these reports of the pier started floating about, they had a surprise attack from the sea. These human frogs that they call them, special forces, about 2 months ago. Israel reported, that was approximately 3 months ago, that they witnessed these Hamas special forces in the sea and then they withdrew, signaling that we have capacity and we know what's happening. And also, there were mortar shells next to the pier at one point, by the way, to send a message to. Shannon L., thank you so much for your super thanks. Saying these are dark times, politicians are especially all desperate here in the US. Keep your head up, keep calling, keep writing, protesting, boycotting. Yes. I mean, some of these politicians, though, they're not all there. I was looking at Mitch McConnell the other day. Apparently, he was one of the people who, unless I got his name wrong, who sent this letter to the ICC, who signed it alongside 11 other senators. This man freezes. He freezes when he's in the middle of the speech. So if you thought Biden used to go like this and then wander around, like that, this man literally freezes. He froze for a couple of minutes. And he has assistants ready with him. So the assistant, Mr. McConnell, you okay? Yeah, they asked you about this. Can you respond, please? And he'll do this. That's your politicians in the US. But the AIPAC is still happy to pay them money. So long as they, sign a letter. He probably didn't even sign it. He probably handed it someone else to sign it. I wouldn't be surprised if the man looked at it and thought it was a maths quiz or something. Tashikom is saying, Salam, is the diaper force going to attack the hospitals in Rafah too? They already destroyed, not like affected or attacked, destroyed 5 hospitals. The rest of them are barely running on anything. They already attacked many hospitals surrounding Rafah. I wouldn't be surprised if they attack more hospitals there. What is the purpose of their campaign? The purpose of their campaign is genocide. That's the purpose of ethnically cleansing, destroying every lifeline. That's why they destroyed all of the universities, they destroyed schools, they destroyed bakeries, water wells, wheat and flour factories, houses, residential buildings. Don't have to be a scientist to realize what these people are doing. And again, what did we see? This is why I began with this. What did we see so far? So far, we saw bodies of children. from under the rubble. And as heartbreaking as it is, you have to share them. Why? So the world can see. That's why many people shared them and said, don't look away. Don't look away. It's not nice, but don't look away. That's happening in Gaza. And over 1,000 of that happened before. Times it by 1,000. That's in case you didn't see anything in October and November moving forward. So I wouldn't be surprised. Irene Z, what happened to all the aid? Did they steal all the aid at the Rafah border? They stopped the aid trucks. So they closed the Rafah crossing. Apparently, Israel is reporting that they are allowing aid from Karm Abu Salem. Again, how much do we believe that? I'm not sure. But so now it's frozen. That's it. Blocked. And prices are sky high. You need to understand, not everything is like distributed for everyone because there's still markets in Gaza and stuff. So if you want to go to the market, for example, and buy a kilo of tomatoes or something, it'll be like $5. Onion, a few for $6, $7. Some basic essentials are missing. So it's still a catastrophe on a humanitarian, from a humanitarian side. Where is Sisi and Erdogan now? Where's everyone? Where is everyone? Look, I said it before, I'll say it again. Israel conducted this massacre because there's no deterrence. And the deterrence should be at the level of Israel. So Israel has the capacity to level Gaza. Someone has the capacity to level Israel. Someone must have the capacity to level Israel. This is how you have intimidation. This is how you have deterrence. If someone had the capacity to level Israel to the floor, like they leveled Gaza to the floor, and told them, if you continue this or try and do this, this will happen to you, they wouldn't have done it. But there's no one to do that. There's resistance movements who participate to lift the pressure, to exhaust the military, to have some sort of a war of attrition, to cause more damage to the national morale of Israel, promote a sense of insecurity in Israel. Yes, but something to a level to stop. No, that's why these people do what they do. That's why they do what they do. And Sisi and Erdogan are at the top of the list of the people who have responsibility to do more. The only thing that I can say about Egypt in particular, not to defend their, because some people go and interpret things that I say, oh, you support this and you support that. They'll watch a snippet of my video and start making assumptions. Short-sighted people. But Egypt took certain steps that prevented the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. The fact that they did not submit to the pressure in the beginning, for example, didn't completely open the borders to have a complete influx of people, right? Although they had a lot of pressure from Israel, from the United States, from Germany, from France, from many countries. They had a plan there to deport everyone. Egypt, to give it to them, they stood firm with that. And if they submitted to the pressure back then, we would have been in a different situation. Does that say they did enough? No. But I'll give that to Egypt, regardless of everything else I have to say. Okay? Turkey, they support on the political level, they support diplomatically, they legitimize the resistance and. But again, the level of talk wasn't aligned with the level of action. At least Egypt doesn't talk, right? At least Egypt is always talking diplomatically. And by the way, sometimes we'll do things on the sly to a level that Israel told them you're participating in the 7th of October and that they're planning to attack us. I quoted many, quoting how many forces they have in Sinai. Like now some people are saying Israel being on the Philadelphia line is against the agreement, the peace treaty that they have with Egypt. Egypt already broke every line of the treaty, and that's confirmed by top Israeli officials in the Military Intelligence Directorate. And I quoted them. They said Egypt broke every line of the peace treaty by having this amount of forces, by having attack tunnels, what they call, and by not playing ball with Israel, with everything to do with the tunnels. Does that say they did enough? No one did anything enough to prevent a genocide. No one. And they need to. They need to. You know, you're talking about human suffering. How can you live when people just behind a wall are living in misery? How can anyone live? When you have a country that has an air bridge from over the seas, air bridge of weapons, tanks, bombs, everything. Yeah, they'll delay a couple of things for leverage here and there, but then... And you, the neighbors, your brothers and sisters, in humanity before anything. Let's not talk about the other brotherhoods, right? The Arab Brotherhood and the Muslim Brotherhood and A human being sitting next to you, being slaughtered to death, dying of hunger, children being murdered. And you're sitting there. That's the world that we live in. And it needs to change. It needs to change. Talal Mansour, why did the Egyptian army withdraw from the Rafah crossing? What does this implicate? An understanding. Some sort of an understanding. How else can you translate that? You were all talk before saying if they attacked Rafah, we will reconsider the peace treaty. You know, you had officials from the office of the spokesperson in Egypt. We will need to revisit that. We might cancel the peace treaty. We might do this. We might do that. Well, they're there now. Stop flexing your muscles and actually use them, man. Come on. Flexing muscles. Until when are you gonna flex muscles? Don't flex muscles. Show me some moves, to say the least. We have 100,000 troops, so many tanks. For what? Just for them to go an inch into Egypt? And again, what for, ladies and gentlemen? To prevent a genocide. To prevent a genocide. That's it. You know, you're not asking for much. But you know, when you think about it sometimes, by the way, it's as if as it's all meant to be. It's as if God blinded these people. He made them blind. He coated their hearts and made them do what they're doing now, so that all of us can see everything without trying to dig, without having to overcome arguments and challenges and trying to look for evidence to support what we're saying, or dig back in the books of history and say, oh, look, they did this from this time to that time. They're doing it live in front of everyone. And any decent human being is taking action. Any decent human being is taking action, right? But you'll still have people who will just, as if nothing's happening, we don't know. But the level of awareness is beyond what anyone anticipated, beyond it. And it's funny because I always monitor Israel and what they try and do, particularly their Hasbara office. Hasbara, the propaganda. Oh, we're worried about the rise of people hating us in the world. And where are we failing exactly in, where are we failing in sugarcoating all of this garbage and genocide and crimes against humanity that we're doing? Where are we failing? Are you looking at what you're doing? Psychopathic lunatics, I'm telling you. Psychopathic lunatics. Oh, we were good at PR. Blinken is saying the other day, they were good at PR. I don't know what happened. So if they were good at PR and they sold themselves as fine and there was no outrage, we'll probably have 500,000 Palestinians dead. But they're continuing. And that's why the US and the genocidal states that support Israel are, frustrated. They're not that happy because they were fine with Israel committing a genocide, quietly, low heat, slow cooked genocide. But no, Israel, wholesale genocide. Come on. Stop dripping. Wholesale genocide. Let's kill everyone. Yeah, I think it was meant to be. Maybe it was written so that people can see what's happening. And so that things can change globally as well. So that things can change globally. ABCD, maybe it's a rumor, but did you hear about an attempted assassination? Saudi MBS, apparently some bodyguards were shot, but he still lives. MBS, ever since he started doing these moves in Saudi Arabia and changing the way the royal families run, he made a lot of enemies from within Al Saud, the family. It consists of about 5,000-6,000 people. All of them share the cake. He started changing things. More positions, pushing his role in, pushing his uncle away, making these changes in Saudi Arabia. Some of them were good, to be fair. I mean, women can drive, right? It's a massive accomplishment. Yeah, women can drive finally. In when was it? 5-6 years ago. Good, we're getting there. But not from democracy, human rights, or what have you. And these grand projects, the line and this and that. And I'm sure many people are not happy for their own reasons. I haven't particularly heard that report, by the way, but I wouldn't be surprised if things do happen and then some things get leaked, because the last time there was an attempted assassination, it was extremely heated. And the US Marines had to intervene in Saudi Arabia. The real boss had to intervene. The owners of the land. They intervened and they solved it. He was on a yacht for a while. He made it his residence. Permanent residence for a while. He was on a yacht because in Saudi Arabia, there were problems waiting for him. Helene Larson, thou shalt not kill. And then Israel says, watch me. I said that from when I wrote my book, because I discussed a lot of things to do with Judaism and how Israel is an imposter, and all of this Judaism talk is a facade, and how they use Judaism as a front for a neo-colonialist, genocidal, supremacist, violent, genocidal ideology. And I discussed the God's, to your descendant, I will give this land, and the biblical stuff. And I quoted 4 out of the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, you shall not covet. And then there was another one. So to protect their existence as a Jewish state, and by the way, Israel defines itself as a Jewish democratic state. But the enlightened secular West doesn't have a problem with that. They don't have a problem with the state calling itself Jewish, then democratic. As if you can combine the two. There's a difference between having elements of religion, for example, implemented in a country, but not calling it a certain way. From my perspective, lands and countries, they don't have religions. What, does a country get up and pray and do the religious obligations? It's made out of land and stone and water, and people have religions. People pray, people do these things. But they fool them, They fool a large chunk of the Jewish population. But I think the split in the Jewish community nowadays is bigger than ever. And the anti-Zionist Jews that I speak with, they will say a lot of things. And look, some of them are frank. They'll tell you in some places, some of the Jewish communities, they're still fully Zionist in certain locations. But that there's a shift, and that there are frictions sometimes between families of Jewish people about their view on Israel. And the main thing is the shift that we've seen in the last 6 months is unprecedented. Like, there was previously a notion that about 90% approximately of the world's Jewish population supported Israel and were Zionists. There was this notion. It wasn't substantiated by like a poll or, people used to say that. And the level of people and the number of people who were vocal from the Jewish community was small. Now, now they'll be in the front line. And they will make a very, very clear attempt to highlight their Judaism. It's more difficult with the secular people. So it's more difficult with the people of, who follow Judaism as a tradition, and because they have Jewish heritage, it's more difficult for them because they look like all of us, a man and a woman walking. Not with like a hat and, the religious clothing. But then even them, the Orthodox ones, they will put a Palestinian kufiya. But that they're Jew, if they're Jewish, if they're with you. The ones with who are not visibly Jewish, they will make an extra attempt to show, and that's good. Because we're sick and tired of this of talk about anti-Semitism, to be fair. I mean, they're milking it to poor students in the universities. They started to put banners, Jewish students here. They'll wear a kippah with a watermelon. A kippah with a watermelon. So there's a shift. There's a change. And I always say, look, and that's debatable. Some people disagree with me, and they're entitled to, fine. I view this as first and foremost a case of human rights. Before it being a political thing, by the way. A case of universal human rights. If everyone had equal human rights between the river to the sea, we wouldn't have been here. And not many people would care what the land is called, by the way. If we had equality, if we had human rights, if everyone had freedom of movement, if everyone had, freedom to vote, freedom to eat, access to healthcare, but you don't have that. Ari Magoo, interesting question. Salam Mahmoud, brother, do you think Al Jazeera shutdown by genocidal is not real, is making a big difference? Will news still be transmitted sufficiently? I tend to believe it's a theatrical move. Look, it's a dark move. It's a dark draconian move because it's slow. And when you have a move such as that, backed by a law, that's the worrying thing. Now it's law in Israel that the prime minister, and listen to the law, how draconian and Orwellian. I mean, I don't think we should call it Orwellian. Poor George Orwell. He intended the other thing. Draconian, authoritarian. The law states that if the prime minister has suspicion that a network, a news network, is posing a threat, a security threat to the country, he's entitled to ban it. They added he can speak with the communication minister and a couple of other people from his clique to approve it and make it pass. So basically, it all lies in the hands of one person. And it's important to elaborate on that fact, by the way, and how draconian it is to allow one person to make a decision to ban a news network. It's as if I'm coming and telling you, you know what, I have a problem with that network and I'm going to ban it. Who am I? I can have the background, I can have knowledge, I can have well-rounded knowledge, I can have substantial evidence that I believe can support me to say that these people are indeed a threat, but that's just me. Me. You're talking about a country banning a global organization. Don't you think it should be bigger than you? But it just shows his narcissistic, psychopathic, megalomaniac approach, Benjamin Netanyahu. It's all about him. It won't make a big difference, no. I'll tell you why. There's simultaneously other networks who are doing not less of a good job than Al Jazeera in reporting. In Israel, from within Israel, and the West Bank and Gaza. So that's number one. So that's why I tend to see it as a theatrical move, primarily done as a dig at Qatar. Because Qatar didn't really play ball in putting enough pressure on Hamas, applying enough pressure on Hamas to the level that Israel wanted. Israel was upset with it, and then they resort to these childish moves. You've had a relationship with Qatar for over 2 decades. Who are you kidding? Who are you kidding? Al Jazeera brought your genocidal people, racist individuals, to be viewed by hundreds of millions of Arabs across the Arab world. Are you going to ban Al Jazeera, saying it supports terror? And before that, in case you don't know, after the beginning of this genocide, obviously you had immediate draconian laws measured on the Palestinian community inside of Israel. People like myself who were born in Israel and are Palestinian. Draconian measures. Everyone who said one word of sympathy, prison. Prison for months. Financial punishment. Everything. And they'll have some of their Hasbara trolls roaming around the world like dogs and telling you, no, we live in happily and everything equality. There's levels to the apartheid in Israel, and there's levels to people's statuses. But one thing's for sure, there is no equality. With the Palestinians, they obviously started imprisoning them. Anyone who likes, anyone who this, anyone who that. Then they introduced a law called the terror content law. Terror content law. Meaning, if you watch content deemed by the state of Israel or people in power as promoting, supporting, whatever terror, you can get in prison. Do you know what's considered terror, by the way? And that's another law then. They were talking about passing it as a law. I'm not sure if it passed, to be fair, because don't take my words if it's a law, but that was connected with the terror content law. The denial of the 7th of October. The denial of the 7th of October. Let me just double check quickly. There we go, yes. A bill criminalizing the denial, minimization, or celebration of the Hamas group's October 7th attack on southern Israel. What does that include, by the way? That includes saying things like, no, there wasn't a massacre committed by Hamas, it was committed by you. Even if it's backed by evidence. That's why they still don't have an official state-led investigation. But you had the pilots going out saying we were ordered to shoot at everyone going back to Gaza on the 7th of October. You had the people who had interviews who you can all watch now saying that on the 7th of October, it was the Israeli forces shooting at us and most of us were killed because of fire from the IDF. You had the helicopter images from the Nova Festival. Helicopters shooting at everyone randomly. You have survivors of the Nova Festival in forced hospitalization, as confirmed by people who were leading them at the time. What do you mean forced hospitalization? What does that mean? 50 of them apparently committed suicide. There was a guy who was there in the Israeli Knesset. I spoke about him again over a month ago. He was in the Israeli Knesset and he said 50 of my colleagues committed suicide. And many of them are forced to be hospitalized. Excuse me, what do you mean forced to be hospitalized? That's imprisonment. That's forced imprisonment. And why is that so? Do they have something to say? Have they seen anything you don't want people to know? Just a question. So there will still be reporting going on, even with Al Jazeera. And I think if things tone down, they might give them, they might bring them back. Cambridge Tiny Firm, thank you for your super thanks. And I'm sorry if I missed anyone, by the way. Let me go and see what else we have. Catherine Foley saying, Haaretz is saying that the Rafah crossing will be managed by a US private contractor. Looks like it will be BlackRock. A private contractor means people connected to the military, but not officially the military, so it doesn't look like people have boots on ground. So the US version of Wagner. But Hamas told you we will treat anyone as we treat Israel. If they come and they're not welcome. And look how ironic it is. You have a state that commits a genocide. All of the pressure and criticism from these countries goes against Hamas. You go against the country that's committing a genocide. You talk about the day after that country. You have reason on every level to take military action against that country. They committed genocide. They're racist as hell. They boast about their genocidal intent. They're proven to be genocidal by the International Court. They're ordered by the International Court to stop the genocide. Legal advisors globally are telling you, don't arm them, violate international law. You have arrest warrants against them. You have people looking to ban and divest, and it's blatant for everyone that they're a genocidal state. And the list goes on. And you're talking about Hamas. Why is Hamas there? Their name is Harakat al-Muqawama al-Islamiyya, the Islamic Resistance Movement. Resistance for what? Why would you have resistance out of nothing? Resistance for occupation, for ethnic cleansing, for mass expulsion, for land grabbing, for administrative detention, for ongoing genocide. That's what they're resisting. Resistance is not an aim, an end goal. It's a means. Get rid of the problems of the resistance and you won't have resistance. You wouldn't have had a 7th of October if you had equality, for example. You wouldn't have had Hamas if you left the Palestinians to it. We wouldn't have reached here. But no, talking about a state that's run by a supremacist ideology, a violent supremacist ideology established through violence, mass expulsion, ethnic cleansing, brutality, and everything that you're seeing. Catherine Fall is also saying, did you know about the Israeli arrested in Turkey last week charged with selling human organs? Yeah, probably stolen from Gaza. And he managed to get a hold of them. Lisa, thank you so much for your super thanks. I love that puppy. Vivette Shanti, is it true that no aid is coming through the Rafah crossing now? That's true. Yes, nothing is going through Rafah. Israel claims that they opened the other crossings, but that's Israel. Let's see where we are. White Rose, a rapper, has a song about Palestine. Macklemore, amazing song, beautiful song. This man is so brave. He was threatened. You know what I mean? He's, if I'm not mistaken, a Grammy Award winner. And these people have so much pressure on them not to talk, not to say anything. If you're famous, if you're a celeb, if you have tons of money. But people like him, they break the barrier. And they follow their heart. Despite all of the curtains, all of the intimidation, all of the terrorism. That's terrorism. Trying to intimidate someone to think a certain way, that's terrorism. Force them to change their mind. I'm here sitting talking to you. Is anyone forced to believe me? If you like Israel, fine, go like them, support them. But the other side, no. If you're not supporting them, you're supporting terror. What are you doing? You know, you can't support these people. They're terrorists, extremists, right? They'll use every line in their book of manipulation. But it's collapsing. Everything is collapsing. Irma Galvan, thank you for your long membership. World order isn't changing fast enough. You know what I think? I think things are changing very fast if you compare them to historical events. Primarily because of the internet and social media and the instant interaction and the instant response to events. So, but obviously it's difficult to see that when you're living in the moment. It's obviously difficult, and people obviously want urgent results and immediate results. But that's not how nature works. That's not how things work, and they take time. But saying all that, I personally think they're moving very quickly. I think they're moving very quickly. The shift in public opinion that you had, you know what? I'm not going to say 6 months. I'm just going to take the first 2 months. How many people did a 180 in their opinion? Not from someone being on the line, I'm not supporting this, I'm not supporting that. Supporters of Israel flip to anti-Israel, anti-Zionist. Massive numbers. Now it's even more. And don't underestimate, by the way, the people in Israel who fled. And some people in Israel, they're like, we're done. Done and dusted. Kate is saying this genocide happened in our lifetime. Gen Z are showing us they have courage. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Is Saudi Arabia still talking about normalization? Apparently, they reached a 95% deal with the US without Israel. And then you said, did Turkey stop oil flow from Azerbaijan to Israel? They said that they stopped everything with Israel. Any trade with Israel. Torotama, thank you for your comment. And who else do we have here? Kate's saying, can you talk about the Bahrain resistance? Look, it was reported that it was, from Bahrain, they call Saraya al-Ashtar brigades. I don't think it was carried out from Bahrain. It would be surprising if it did, because Bahrain completely took down the revolution that happened there just over a decade ago. And I tend to believe that this group is obviously linked to Iran and might have some links in Bahrain. You see, their spiritual leader was assassinated in Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken. And it was attributed to Bahrain, but there was no proof that it was carried out from Bahrain. ABCD, any comment on Ansarullah threatening to expand their theater of operations toward the Indian Ocean and the only other route for shipping, Cape, South Africa? They already expanded that operation. And they had another march today. So they have many military drills, and they call them Al-Aqsa Flood. And they have the Palestinian flags. And they had military drills resembling attacking Israeli posts, Israeli settlements, and kidnapping Israeli soldiers as if they're preparing for a land invasion. And one thing I would tell you about Ansarullah particularly is that these people you can, to a certain extent, expect what they say. You can to a certain extent trust their word, because so far they've shown that with every single step, with every single warning, they implemented it. Initially, Red Sea, then we will expand, they expanded. If you increase the attacks, we'll increase the attack, expanded. Indian Ocean, South Africa, done. We'll introduce more weapons, they did. And they had submarines. So if Ansarullah tell me tomorrow, I'm going on land from, I don't know, Syria or Lebanon, I don't know how they'll do it, I would be expecting them. Because they've proven to be reliable. Now there's talk, I haven't heard them say directly, but there are talks about some actions in the Mediterranean. That's not from them though, that's probably the next step. Okay. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Why would Egypt allow them to take Rafah? We're going to have to ask the Egyptian authorities. Let me call Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. I just don't have his number. Listen, give me his number, I'll call him. Mr. President, why did you allow them? Look, I think they had some sort of an understanding. Israel clearly told the US administration, Egypt, it will be a limited operation, time limited, intensity limited operation in East Rafah. That probably has a deadline that we don't know. Like the deadline that was given to Israel initially that was not declared, which was 45 days. You have 40 to 45 days to get rid of them. Some people claim it was 30, by the way. Because immediately after 30 days, the tone started to change from Israel's allies. It stopped becoming, you have an open check to do everything. They started to speak about the human beings in Gaza. Before that, everyone was collateral damage, the bodies of the babies, Al-Ma'madan, you know, a Christian hospital as well. We thought, okay, you don't have sympathy for the Palestinians. Maybe it's because they're majority Muslim. Do you have sympathy for the Christian community? No. It appears to be beyond that. Clearly beyond that. They're careless of anyone. Churches bombed. Nothing. Al-Ma'madan, they tried to spin it. They started saying, oh no, it's Hamas. Imagine how low you need to be as a human being, how immoral, how vile, how abhorrent you need to be to try and blame a catastrophe on the people who are suffering it. Israel drops a JDAM bomb on this hospital. I still remember to this day because I remember it was the worst number, the biggest number of people killed in one strike. Al-Ma'madan Hospital. Belongs to the Church of England, by the way. Israel dropped a JDAM bomb. This bomb lands and doesn't hit the ground. It explodes before it hits the ground. Why? So it could kill as many people as possible. What Israel did in Gaza is beyond any horror movie, if any of you watch horror movies. It's beyond that. They committed and still do the worst atrocities in the total history of humanity. killing children, killing babies, pregnant women, raping pregnant women, forcing their relatives to watch while they do it. Killing babies, killing children, shooting a mother of a child when she's walking next to him in the street for no reason, sniping. Everything's recorded. You might have seen more than that. And they're quiet. They try to blame the Palestinian resistance. Like the people, you need to understand, the people who call themselves intellectuals or journalists or show hosts or whatever, who are nothing but spin and manipulation propagandists and slaves to their masters. These are some of the worst people on earth. I mean, I think there's a special place in hell reserved for these people. Hiding it when you can see it. And none of them have an excuse, by the way. You know, in the beginning of the genocide, what I started doing when I saw the news and I was seeing what's actually happening, I started to collect all of the images and videos and sending them to mainstream media. Here you go. I'll tag you. I'll send it to you directly. Nothing. As if they saw nothing. What does that tell you? These people and the devil are one. Hell, I'd be probably upsetting the devil. I'd be upsetting Satan, comparing this country to him. He's probably offended by me now. Like, no, Mahmoud, they're worse than me. Let's see if we have anything else. I'm sorry, by the way, if I missed some of the comments because some of them disappear. Let's see if we have anything else. ABCD, in fact, is saying, in fact, the resistance is fighting on behalf of humanity and we should be thanking them and supporting them with all means available. 1,000,000%. 100%. Supporting the resistance. These are the superheroes. You know, you have Marvel Comics and Hollywood and you have Gaza. I said it before, if Netflix or a movie production organization, if they want to make a series about like superheroes, Gaza, you're sorted for the next century. Sharif El, Assalamu alaikum Mahmoud, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. What is the possibility that the Gazan resistance may have received or are receiving infiltration manpower from the other members of the Axis, especially the Houthis? They don't need manpower. I'll tell you that. Because part of the reason for their immense success and them humiliating the child murdering forces is the fact that they are the sons of the land and they know it. And they know everything. You need to be very well trained and very well accustomed to your environment to be successful to the level that the Palestinian resistance was successful. Similar to Hezbollah, you need to know the mountains, you need to know the geography, you need to feel everything to be that successful. When you're an imposter or a squatter, you'll fail, like the Zionist squatters. Now, at some point, some of the resistance might have support from outside, but that depends on if we reach an all-out war or not. Because at one point, some people from Iraq were on the Lebanese borders. Gaza, they can have people. If they smuggle things, they can smuggle people. You know, it's not an issue if you want to go. As in, not you individually. For people start getting into trouble here. But if anyone from the Houthis wants to go, they can go if they want to. But there's no need for anyone. There is no need for anyone. Because they fight because they know the land and they're most effective at it. If an all-out war breaks out and you'll have the Houthis, for example, going in, or other movements, you might see some people going in, but they won't be going to Gaza. They'll be going to what's called Israel. Ansarullah, they're training on Israeli territory, occupying them and posts and stuff. This is where they'll be going. Like Hezbollah, for example, they'll be in the Galilee. Okay, let me take this one and we'll finish it with it. Where were we? Irene Z. Okay, and I'll finish it with Irene's question. You're saying, how do you think things will evolve? I think Israel isn't interested in a complete and full, large-scale invasion of Rafah. I think they want to do it as a show, to give the sacrifice to the genocidal, bloodlusting people in Israel, on top of them Smotrich and Ben Gvir, so that they can be happy, and so that they can sell it for the Israeli population as if, look, we attacked every part of Gaza. Now there's nothing left. And we dismantled the brigades. They published an image of a tunnel, by the way. Couple of days, yesterday or today, I'm sorry. They published an image of a tunnel they found in Rafah. A metal tunnel. Looks like there was some water there. So I think they'll do that, and they will potentially try and end it afterwards, so long as Benjamin Netanyahu secures a post-war deal, because the core thing is Netanyahu securing a post-war deal. If Netanyahu secures a post-war deal, he will end it relatively quickly, and he will continue to serve as the Israeli prime minister. Because he doesn't care about the rage and protests and stuff. He is completely careless about that. So if he manages to convince his right-wing, you don't call them right-wing, you need different terms for these people. Ben Gvir and Smotrich, I mean, the names speak for themselves. And the people that support them, because there are people like that. Don't forget, these people brought them to power. Someone's to power. There are people who support them. Some people in Israel want a bigger genocide. They don't like Netanyahu with this limited genocide. They wanted something bigger. So if he manages to get a deal, he'll finish it. If he doesn't, he will continue to drag it. After he drags it, even if we reach a ceasefire, we will be looking at a temporary ceasefire, and we would be looking at an ongoing tense conflict, because what happened on the 7th of October is something that Israel never faced before. To many people, Israel ended, and we're witnessing the end of it as a neo-colonial apartheid state, because it's showing no other intention of, finding a solution. They're keen and very stubborn on their supremacist role with their religious and ethnic supremacy, unless something magical happens. Big likelihood that nothing magical will happen, and that they will continue to be who they are, and they will continue to act with their hate and with their sense of supremacy and entitlement, and with their acts of barbarism and genocide against the Palestinian people. And then something bigger will happen. So either an ongoing conflict that is going to be very tense and can explode at any moment, or a continuation of this now up until we have a complete and final solution. And we'll end it there. Jihad Al-Aidi, thank you so much for your super thanks. And thank all of you for participating and sharing your views. I always enjoy spending time with you. I published another video before this, so you can go ahead and watch it. I might have another one if I have time to post one. If not, thank you so much again for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your evening, rest of your week ahead, and I will see you soon in the next video. Take care.